everyone, thank you so much for being here. I finally joined another tag. This is the Pivotal Decks tag by the Somatic Sorceress. Hi, Somatic Sorceress. Since I wasn't active on YouTube some time ago, I may have missed this tag, but I want to do it. Also because I have a very clear list of decks I want to show you today in this tag. I had to say, this is one of my favorite kinds of tags because it doesn't just make me show decks, it makes me also reflect on them. So on what they meant for me, what they taught me, and even what they still mean now in my practice today. It's like tracing back the turning points in my tarot journey a little bit, because I'm going to show some decks that maybe I don't use regularly today, but they were very significant in the past for me. So I'm tracing back the moments when a deck wasn't just a deck, but also something that pivoted my perception or my habits or even my spiritual life. So I'll go through the prompts, very nice prompts here, and share some of the pivotal decks in my collection. And of course, I'd love to hear from you in the comments which ones have been pivotal for you. I've been watching also some of the videos out there already, so let's go. So the first prompt is Pivotal Tarot, a deck that changed the way you think and feel about the tarot. Which deck helped advance your understanding of the tarot? And while of course my first tarot deck ever was a Rider-Waite-Smith, just a classic one, and then I just kept, expanding my understanding and my experience by acquiring other decks and also some very different decks. The one that I think is pivotal, which I think is also a quite underrated but fascinating deck, I see it around here sometimes. This is my Tapestry Tarot. It's in this bag. I've shown this one before on my YouTube channel. This is out of print. This is a vintage one, and it's quite on the expensive side now. Sorry, there are children outside. It's quite on the expensive side now. If you look for it, you can still find it on eBay, for example. It's quite a peculiar one. It's a collage deck from the 90s by Yvonne G. Jensen. I guess it's from, it should be like 95, yes. And this one is also based on, or it's a combination, of many inspiration, it says, philosophies and religions that have been hidden for ages in the Hathor temple in Denver. So there is like a sort of Egyptian also kind of inspiration. And then there are many other references here to the wheel of life in Buddhism, Nirvana, and many other philosophies. So this one is so interesting. So the concept just behind it, and also the realization, because this one, as I said, is a collage deck, but it has been made, these are the bags, in a very peculiar way, because Yvonne G. Jensen, the artist, used materials, like fabric and other things to create this artwork, as you can see. And it's so beautiful and intricate, and the colors just pop. And this one, why it's a pivotal tarot, so back to the tag, with this vintage aesthetic, being a deck from the 90s, that instantly brought me back when I saw it to my childhood. I was born in the 80s, actually not in the 90s, but of course I had my childhood in the 90s. And when I first saw it, and then when I first used it, I was being brought back to that feeling of the 90s, where I remember when we were at school, teachers also used to make us, create some things like this, some artwork, to just spark our creativity. And we had many materials available, and we could create whatever we wanted. So it's really similar to the concept behind this deck. That's why this is so familiar and related to my childhood. It's not, a polished deck, so if you like those kind of decks, it's not modern, but that's what makes it so powerful for me, because it feels like, and look at this blue, it feels like stepping into a scrapbook full of hidden stories here and meanings. The second thing that make made this deck pivotal for me. Not only the connection to childhood, but also what this deck really taught me was narrative. Before, I used to look at cards a little bit too individually, maybe since I was, still in the beginning of my practice and my study, as if each one was its own isolated message. But the tapestry changed that for me. So it forced me to read across the spread. As you can see, also, another thing that is peculiar in this deck, so there are many things that are peculiar, like also the association to astrological houses and signs, which may be a little bit different from, what we normally associate astrologically with each tarot card, the traditionally known astrological associations. But these cards also have keywords, as you can see here at the top, and this really helped me connect the cards also into a cohesive message. So it forced me to, as I was saying, read across a spread and to weave connections, so let the story unfold. And once I started seeing readings that way, my whole practice also developed and also deepened. And look at the colors. They're so pretty, right? And I know this is not for everyone. Not everyone might like it, but we are talking about meaning here, right? And the importance of a deck in one's personal story and personal practice. So in many ways, this deck is like a bridge, I would say, between my childhood memories and also my adult tarot practice. So if I had to describe it, I would describe it this way. So yeah, this is the Tapestry Tarot by Yvonne G. Jensen for the first prompt. The second prompt is a pivotal oracle, a deck that changed the way you think and feel about oracles. What deck helped advance your understanding of what oracles can do for your practice? So again, here we are looking at some very old decks in my collection. So some very, the oldies but goodies or something like that. So yeah, this is one of those, So the pivotal oracle I have chosen is, and sorry, this is out of print. This is the Ancient Feminine Wisdom of Goddesses and Heroines. This is one that really shifted things. And this one now is out of print, but it was available on mass market then. I bought this one on Amazon. How incredible is that? I know. I got mine in 2018, of course, almost 7 years ago. This is a mythological deck. It is based on goddesses and heroines, like the title says, like the name says. Is mythological, archetypal, and rooted in feminine figures that carry such power. It's also such a beautiful deck. It's so delicate, the colors are deep. It's so beautiful, and when I got it, I used it constantly. As you can see, it's slightly modified. There was just an issue that some keywords, so I wanted some different keywords on some cards, and so what I did was read in here what is written in the little white book, and then just pick some keywords that were like different but worked better for me, and also some keywords that I think were more suited for like the myth displayed here. And I use it constantly, as I was saying, but the real pivot is that I also used it completely on its own without tarot. So I just crafted some very specific practices around this one, and I crafted also some very specific spreads just for this one, so just to enjoy this oracle and go deeper into it and explore it and study it deeper. I also journaled with it. I don't have the journal here with me because since I moved, many of my things are still packed. So that's when I realized, by the way, that an oracle deck could be just as complete and powerful as a tarot deck on its own. And what makes it even more special is that it's now, as I said, out of print and hard to find. I saw one copy being sold on Vinted just a few days ago for 120 euros, and I think it was not a high price for it. I know that it's hard to find now, and what's most incredible is that I found it on Amazon many years ago, and I didn't even realize how much of a gem it was. It's rare today. Of course, I cherish it. I don't use it regularly now, but it has the status of a collectible, I would say now, in my collection. So of course I really cherish it. And This one, by the way, really marked the moment when I stopped thinking of an oracle deck as a secondary or supporting deck, because an oracle deck can also stand on its own, especially, and you can get very, very deep readings. I started treating oracles as deep and as a deep and independent practice, thanks to this one. So it was just the beginning of it, you know. And of course, I love Greek mythology. This added, of course, to the love, the liking I had for this one. So this is the ancient feminine wisdom of goddesses and heroines, out of print. Now the third prompt, pivotal practice, a deck that took your card reading practice to another level or in another direction. How did this deck shift the way you work with the cards? And I have chosen for this prompt my Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot. I don't use this one regularly now. It got a lot of use many years ago when I got it, and throughout the years too. This one is a peculiar story because these cards are huge. This one was a real pivot for my practice. I actually got an imperfect edition directly from the creator, so I paid less, and my copy is signed too, as you can see, which makes it even more valuable to me. And of course, I guess also for the market. It has been also republished recently. As you can see, also it came with this little message like imperfection is holy. I think you can see it. Yeah, so sweet. What I love about this deck is how it opened a completely new kind of practice for me. As you can see, these imperfections were there when I bought the deck. It's because I bought an imperfect copy, you know. I couldn't afford at the time, you know, to buy, to pay the full price for it, but I wanted it so badly. And I just grabbed the opportunity when I saw it to get this kind of copy. So I had never used a deck as a meditation tool before, but with the Dream Dust, I started pulling cards at night as a before bed ritual. So I called this one for many years my before bed tarot deck. I perform this before bed ritual to close the day usually, so just pulling one card and reflecting on it, or even choosing the card intentionally. So the first card in the deck, so just by looking at the images, you know, the first card that really resonated with me, so help me reflect on the day. It became this gentle way of releasing whatever happened and during the day, and creating space also for rest. So for a while I did that every night, and it really changed my relationship with tarot. So it wasn't just for answers or big readings anymore, but it was for presence and ritual and reflection and meditation. And this is also, obviously, it's an abstract deck, so it's very intuitive, and you can pick up a lot just based on colors. There is also a very similar one that is very popular now, is the Tarot as Color. I don't have that one because I think that this one is already, like, you know, fills that position for me, let's say, in my collection. And then also unexpectedly, so it also works beautifully for client readings. It has this way of tapping into the overall energy of a situation, so I used it for that when I was reading for other people, and giving a broad and yet also profound picture, you know, of the situation, which made it so versatile, so for many uses. So this deck was pivotal because it showed me, and it is the first deck of this kind I got. It showed me that tarot, you know, can be daily, meditative and ritualistic, not just divinatory, of course. This is the pivotal practice, is my Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot. The next prompt is Pivotal Perception, a deck that changed the way you see yourself or your collection. How did this deck influence your identity and perhaps shift that identity? So yes, definitely something shifted many years ago when I got this deck. Here I have my beloved and cherished, and again out of print, so sorry, Tarot of the Crown. This is a deck by Ellen Lorenzi Prince, so it's a very well-known artist. This deck really shifted my perception. I love this one so much, and it's now out of print, which makes me treasure it even more. What it gave me was an initiation into shadow work, or the so-called one, but I wasn't really aware, or I wasn't even looking for a deck for shadow work, and I didn't really even intend to do shadow work when I got this one. I just liked it and so I saw it and I bought it and I went for it. When I started working with it, certain quotes and images, quotes from the guidebook, and images came up again and again during a really important period of my life too. And they stuck with me like a mantra. The crown is, as you can see, very colorful. It may seem playful even, but at the same time is incredibly deep. And I don't usually lean toward witchy aesthetic, yet this one cut right through. So it told me that a deck doesn't have to match your aesthetic preference to be transformative and impactful. So sometimes it's the unexpected ones that go the deepest. And when I said that there were some quotes that struck me and that really seemed to understand what I was going through and how I was feeling during that time, I mean, there is poetry like that in this deck. Like, for example, the lovers here is crossroads. If you think you can go back now, think again. The choice must be made. No one can help you. All you know cannot help you. You cannot know the future, but you must know your heart and choose to follow. This is so powerful. And there is just this short poem before the description of the card, and then another message here that goes deeper, like a little bit more into a narrative, There are some very powerful verses like, I walk in beauty, I walk with power, I build my walk. With every step I take, it's temperance. And it's also shadowy, but it's also empowering, is what I found with this one. And this one had a way, as I was saying, of picking up my feelings and really reflecting my feelings in these poems. I felt that what I was feeling deep within, even feelings I could not really name, were described here so vividly. It reminds me a little bit of the Margaret Peterson Tarot, especially here, the Witch of Wands. Fire and I are old friends. In the dance of the demons, we sing in the center. We sing out our being. We sing our desire. So mote it be. It's so beautiful, and in a certain sense, the poems also in the Margaret Peterson are so similar to this one. I was looking for a quote I cannot find now. It is about the fact that, being in a home that is not your own and loving someone but not being able to really love that person or something. And that also was something very powerful. I cannot find it now. Maybe it's not meant to be found. I don't know. But I know that there were some verses that was so important for me during that time, and that really have stick with me, all throughout the years. So this shaped my perception in the sense that it made me realize that there were tools like this that could help me grow, that could also deeply mirror, what I was going through within, and cut into some very, very deep truths. And so this one was the deepest deck maybe I had many years ago. And even if it challenged me sometimes, because it cut so deep, it used to cut so deep that sometimes the truths were a little bit uncomfortable. And even if they were not what I thought I wanted, it was just something that could really speak, and tell a specific truth. And it was like an initiation into something deeper. So this is the Tarot of the Crown by Ellen Lorenzi Prince, out of print. And when we talk about perception, when I looked also, I used to look at some cards like this one, for example, the Shadow of Cups. It really challenged me, because it's clear that this body is floating, or maybe drowning in water, What I'm really seeing here, I see someone, coming to the surface. So it means, I'm just leaving maybe just the heaviness I'm floating just above the heaviness, or am I drawing? So, meaning what I chose to see here, it's just a matter of perception, and it's really tied, I think, to your feelings in the moment, and also what you decide to see and how you want to read this and how you react to this, then to let this message sit a little bit. So you have to sit with this a little bit. So it was just something that was totally new for me, and it had to do also with the representations here, the images, you know, on the deck, that just make you, they challenge, yes, your perception a little bit. So what you decide to see, what is the message that you're getting here, and also you can tell a lot about yourself, like, am I floating or am I droning? So now, pivotal recommendations. What decks would you recommend for transformation and growth across life major domains? So the first is the Practical Pivot, a deck that works well for everyday pivots. And I have here both my oldest favorite and my current favorite. So many years ago, this one, the Revival Art, had the same place the Lioness Oracle Tarot has today. So I was using this one every time I needed just a reading. I had a question, so it was for practical matters, you know. In the same way I used today the Lioness Oracle Tarot. I just grab it whenever I need it, and I have, you know, any type of question, I can just grab this one and read with it. I'm going to show a little bit this one. The Revival Art Tarot was my everyday deck, the one I always turn to for quick practical clarity. I also used it for client readings many years ago. So nowadays, as I said, the role belongs to the Lioness Oracle Tarot. I basically grab the deck for everything, which is, you know, this one is this gorgeous curated art deck using famous paintings for the cards, and it was my first of that kind. So this whole genre of curated art decks that feel moody, soulful, and like walking into a museum. I said many times that looking at this beautiful deck, I think, is one of the best of this kind. Still, it's like walking into a museum, literally. Like it could be the Louvre, you know, or something. And it has like, it is also moody at the same time. It is just, I don't know, it is an experience. It just has its own mood. It was the first, I believe, curated art deck I got, and it also opened up a whole new direction, you know, for my collection, of course, and also my taste. At the same time, I didn't develop any specific practice around this one. I just use it basically for everything. So this is the Revival Art Tarot by Tarot Studio. So today instead I use for everyday, so my practical pivot today would be the Lioness Oracle Tarot. This is different, this is a collage deck, but it also features some, famous singers, but also there are some less, some more like, this totally comes from an Italian painting, I don't remember now, but yeah, there is still some curated art, and I like it so much. So there is a mix of things I really like there are statues, you know, and many magical carpets. There are roses and cats and animals and candles. Yeah, so this one will be my practical pivot today. Also this one, the Temperance, this one also comes from a very famous Italian painting. I don't remember now if it's by Tiziano, Raffaello. Yeah, I wrote it down somewhere, but yeah. And it's also very precious, so there are some very intricate details. I really like this frame in the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah. So this is instead my practical pivot today, is the Lioness Oracle Tarot. So the next prompt is Relational Pivots, a deck that aids relational reflection and pivots. And I have chosen for this one both a vintage and a modern deck. So the vintage one is my Zerben Faber Tarot, the vintage edition. So I will show you, I keep it in this bag. This deck is so wise and precise for love and human connections. I feel that it is a deck for love readings, and maybe all these hearts here, and also on the cards, you know, there are many hearts and there's a lot of pink. So I just feel that this one is made for those kind of readings, but it has also history. So of course I got this one second hand. It feels grounded, and when you hold it, you can sense all the readings it's lived through. So it brings that old soul wisdom into relationship readings, and that's invaluable, honestly. Besides that, of course, this is the vintage edition with the white borders. There are many others, like the anniversary one, and there is another, also the last one that was released, I believe, last year or maybe 2024. I mean, this year or 2024. And it is available mass market on Amazon. I really enjoy having this one because, as I said, it has history and it brings that kind of deeper wisdom in love readings. So I don't want to limit this deck and say it's just for those kind of readings. I love the vintage feel of it, by the way, not only of this edition, but also of the images. This is also collage. In a certain sense, it's very similar to the Tapestry Tarot I've just shown before. It has this 1990s feel, right, to it. So let me grab my beloved also Tapestry. So as you can see, it's a little bit of a similar feel in terms of collage, you know, and using also different materials to craft, you know, the artwork. The colors also similar. To me, this one is more of a relational pivot because it means so much in terms of, again, spotting dynamics in relationships, and it has like this very wise approach to to relational matters and love readings. So I use it a lot also for clients. Again, not to limit its use, you know, so I have asked all kind of questions also to this deck, and it's very valuable for everything. But if I have to choose, you know, a relational pivot, so this will be one, my vintage one, you know. Then there is the modern one too. If I have to use something more modern, of course, I use the Venus Morningstar Tarot. This one I have was already shown on my channel. It's another curated art deck, because you can see I'm really into this kind of things. And this one is very good for love too, so I use it specifically again for those kind of readings. There is just a softness to it. This is one of the best Two of Cups ever, I think. It is also a wonderful reader. I use it specifically for love readings. Honestly, I don't ask any other type of question to this specific deck. So again, not to limit it, but I feel that this deck really thrives. It's called Venus, right? So Venus, the goddess of love. This deck really thrives on that kind of readings, love and relationships. So it has a specific use in my collection. And besides that, it's beautiful, so I really enjoy having this one. Okay, last one for the spiritual pivot, a deck that has guided spiritual transformation and shift. For this one, I have chosen a quite recent deck. Actually, is fairly new in my collection. I'm talking about the Glyph Secret Symbols Oracle. This deck is gorgeous. So first thing is so beautiful. So let's take a moment to appreciate all the beautiful details of the box and also of these cards. They have beautiful matte edges, and also there's like gold shimmering details. Spiritually, the one that has guided me the most recently is this oracles. This deck is moody, as you can see. It's layered, it's full of subtleties in the artwork. So every time I read with it, I notice new shadows, new details, and new messages hidden in the images. Many layers, and this deck is precious. So just the images themselves, with a mix of, you know, ancient mythology here, there is also sacred geometry, there are celestial bodies, animal archetypes, symbols, and elements of nature. All this mix, you know, is so layered and so deep. There is so much you can gather, and the beauty of this card and the moodiness also is something unique for me. So just reading with it, just looking at it, is an experience all by itself. And look at this gate, like it looks like a secret gate in a garden, or a gate in a secret garden. This is retreat. So it's a very intuitive deck. So you can just gather so much just by looking at the images. it connects me, with something beyond myself in a certain sense, with something that is beyond the image and beyond the cards. It is being transformative, and one of the most, I wouldn't say one of the most powerful pivots in my collection, but it is. And there is so much also to learn about symbolism. So I really like to work with these symbols. And look, I've just opened the book, not the knot, and I have the card here. You have the symbol, like in this case, the knot. And then you have a keyword, which is in this case secure. So it goes into the history of the symbol and its meanings. And also here you have some advice and guidance, like tie off the loose ends. It's time to make a sincere commitment to yourself, taking proactive steps to resolve challenging situations. So there are also questions. So are you holding yourself accountable? What can you put effort into now that will ensure your future security and stability, emotional, financial, and physical? So there is so much to gather here. You can also journal or just reflect on this, follow through on your intentions. So there is also encouragement, and you have also some rituals, so something active you can do. Tie knots in a piece of string as a meditation if you feel tangled mentally. Each knot represents a thought or feeling being transferred and transmuted. So it can be used as a tool for transformation and deep also spiritual work. At the same time, it's also so soothing for me, and I feel like it can be used for like a very broad set of purposes. Also taking action in some way if you want to use your oracles that way. I normally don't like oracles to tell me what to do, but in this case it's something that is really part of the experience. There is so much really. I can just choose, to answer the questions. I can choose to just follow the guidance. I can reflect, on so many points here and things. And at the same time, I'm learning about some ancient symbols and their history. I'm learning also about symbols in other cultures, animal symbolism, elemental meaning. For example, the flame here, it gives you the spiritual and symbolic context, what is the meaning of this. The flame, for example, in this case, what does it represent? Of course, illumination and transformation. So what does it mean when it comes up for me? It really goes through the meaning of this symbol in many cultures, like in Egypt, in Greece, in Rome, and what does it mean in mythology? I really like this deck. I really like the meanings of the cards that are given. There is so much also to learn here. It's also a tool, to learn more about symbols and so on. So it just, I don't know, I just love this deck, and I love the aesthetic, I love the moodiness, and it's one that I want to use consistently, and it lives on my desk because I also like to look at it and look at these flames. They are so beautiful. This is the Glyph Secret Symbols Oracle for the spiritual pivot. So these are my pivotal decks. Thank you so much, Somatic Sorcerers, for this tag. It was so interesting. These are the ones that marked real turning points in my tarot and oracle journey and practice. Of course, there will be many more as my practice is always evolving, and developing, of course, and changing. I love how also this prompt made me a little bit reflect not just on what I own, but also why I use it, what I used to use, and how certain decks arrive at the right moment to shift something in us. So I'd love to hear something about, what you have to say in the comments, of course, if you have some of these decks. It was really nice to dive into this and understand again and remember what are the decks that advanced my understanding or changed my practice or guided me spiritually in my practice, in my journey, So, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe if you like this and would like to see more videos from me. I'm Ess, by the way, and I'm very glad that you have been here all throughout this video. I'll see you in the next. Bye bye.